Welcome to my channel. This is a 5 minutes or less review, and today I just want to speak about animation in general. This is not just one of those kind of reviews. This is just me talking about an animation that has been on the back burner. It's something that I have to some degree enjoyed to an extent, and for me, I think this animation could have been a good one. But first of all, let's talk about the name. This is called Wise Man Grandchild, or something like that, or something Omego. I don't like to pronounce Japanese names. It's something that's kind of difficult for me. But that's not the point here. The point here is that we have an animation with a story about an isekai. Or should I say the theme is an isekai animation, whereby a guy goes from our own world into another world. Unfortunately for him, this other world has something to do with magic. It's the typical knight versus sorcerer kind of theme. You know, it's more like you have knight category, you have the sorcerer categories, and everybody's kind of trying to get along. It's similar to a game like Pathfinder, okay, whereby your mage's role in the beginning of the game is just to buff the whole party up, while the frontliners do the heavy damage. The backliner, which are actually the priests, the mage, the bards, their main function is just to buff the team up and occasionally fire arrows or fire cantrips. And that's a good thing here, And there's another animation that's currently in the works, which is also Jobless Reincarnate or something like that I reviewed on this channel. And I spoke about a similar thing whereby it was getting almost a similar treatment as this Wise Man's Grandchild. It has the same theme though. It has something similar to it, but it's kind of slowed, and it gives you an understanding of what that world is like. It gives you that impression that the world is living, is breathing. You have an interaction with the main character there. But here, it's more like it's rushed. They want to tell you how awesome the main character is, And the process of them doing that, they lose out on some of the things that the main character could have had. For instance, we already know that the main character is coming from another world, right? And so with that other world, which is our world, comes information, ability to think. This is a man who is at least, I would say, 30 years of age. That's coming from our world. So he has had an opportunity to experience a lot. And throughout this whole animation, a lot of the things that he got in our own world was not mentioned. I mean, the only reason why his magic has the kind of potency it has is based on his knowledge from our own world, the science. But unfortunately, nothing else is translated, other than that. And in most of the circumstances, throughout this whole episode, or throughout the whole 12 or 14 episodes, I think 12 episodes, this guy never shows any amount of smartness or ability to understand the political problems that country that he's in is going through, and how it can affect other people. In fact, the person that actually showed smartness here was August, the prince, who showed this other individual how to think like somebody that's coming from our own world. He just kept on acting like as if he's a baby, like as if he doesn't know what is really going on. And to me, that arrogance, sorry, not arrogance, ignorance, it, it was what really spoiled the 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 ride, basically. You know, I wanted to join him on this fairy tale, but I just couldn't deal with it because here is somebody who's coming from our own world and he's as dumb as a rock. You know, be it something like not having any kind of knowledge with money. I mean, didn't he spend some time here to know how important money is, to know how the math is, to know how each small society intersects with others? I mean, it was just baffling to see the stupidity. I understand he's a 15-year-old boy, but come on now. If you had all that knowledge that was transferred to help you become a greater a wizard, I mean, it's just insulting. And for me, that was a major gripe with the show. So let's get down to some of the problems I had with this show, and I'm going to try my best to address some of them as best as I can. And I'm not here to poop on the show. That I will not do. But what I will do is talk about the things that I found to be out of touch, could have been improved to help make us understand or be a part of this journey. You know, the first part is that the show is too rushed. I mean, we go from little child. He's shown to be able to do this, to be able to do that, to be able to do so many things, but the years just kept piling on. I mean, we're talking about from 3 years old to 5 years old to 7 years old, 8 years old. I mean, the years are just pushing too fast, and we are not going through this whole experience with him. And like I said, Jobless Magician is doing a greater job than that, than this anime. It's allowing us to see what's going on, and I hope that they take their time to really go through the story in Jobless Reincarnate. I pray that they take the time to go through the story and help us see how he levels up in that show. But in this show, it was just one thing after the other, and they just kept on pushing characters in front of us without really explaining all of them. And for me to think that somebody could be around other people for so long and never even ask them their name or ask them what they do, it baffles me. It baffles me. So I just felt it was too rushed. I would have liked to see, what occurred, how his training went, especially with the Sword Saint. You never really get that backstory. You just rush over it like as if it's not important, and then they put you into things that are really not really that great. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the first bad guy he encounters. The first bad guy is not somebody. I think his name was Strong, or Armstrong, or whatever his name is. Strom, I think. To me, they tried too hard to give us a background for that main character, for us to sympathize with him. But all that was given to us was that he had a family, he was a good guy, and people messed with him. And as a result of that, he became demonized. But the question becomes, how did he become demonized? What was he doing to become demonized? And I think the main thing is that we don't even understand what are the criteria needed for somebody to become demonized on their own. This was never really explained. And so this guy just become demonized. Was he experimenting? And as a result of him losing everything that he had, he ended up just losing control of the very thing he was experimenting on, and it took control of him. I mean, nothing was really touched on. So I don't even know how he became demonized and then still retained his senses. So I'm thinking maybe other seasons would maybe touch on that, But on the first in the first season, nothing was really said. Here's what I always suggest to almost anybody who's creating shows like this: always make sure that when you're giving a movie or you're giving a whole set of series, it should be something that is self-contained. I don't need to go elsewhere to look for information regarding the information that you presented, or if you're not going to present the information to us immediately, then make sure that it's a season 2 to provide us with that kind of information, so that at least it gives us a wholesome information so we can understand how the world works. If you just push something onto us and just simply say, hey, boom, deal with it. I mean, come on now. I mean, we can only fill in as much information as we can. And the truth of the matter is that many of it is going to be fantasy. But as somebody who is aged, who is somebody who have a lot on my mind and on my plate, I don't have the time to go around trying to fill in information. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And then I cannot follow what you're trying to say. And that to me is a great disadvantage. And I know that they had something here, but they lost it because of that kind of information. So they should have provided that information. Okay, boo-hoo, your family died. Okay, how does that have to do with the neighboring nation? Why are you trying to create other demonize other people in that other area? Why are you trying to do that? When you really have the recipe in order to do so. Why do you have to go and demonize somebody in another nation that didn't have anything to do with your own family? Why? Right? Why? There is no reason to be there. There is no reason whatsoever. I just felt that they just put that guy in, chiseled that guy in there in order to give the MC a reason to fight in the homeland. In fact, they shouldn't even have brought it on. They could have allowed that guy to be some kind of a stew, a stew that is boiling, and everybody's anticipating how that guy is going to move. That way they have time to build him up, and we ourselves can sit down and ask ourselves, how strong is this guy? Do you understand what I'm saying? How strong is this guy? And that is one of the things that will keep us going. But no, in their first battle they're fighting, and to me I just felt like he's mediocre. He's not that strong. And so let me just stop the argument there. A big problem I had with this animation, with this storyline, the whole storyline, is that the main character is a white knight. I don't like white knights in my shows. I don't like it, because they don't make for good protagonists. Really, they do not. Whereby he's trying to save the whole world, and then the stupid thing they're always calling justice. What is justice? Define your justice. What really is it? People use it stupidly in animation. In anime, they use it stupidly. What is this so-called stupid justice and friendship nonsense? Get rid of those rubbish. Let people understand what you stand for. What are your codes as a man? Why do you believe in those things? Why do you think that other people should conform to such ideals? Right? One should be able to listen to others and simply say, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but what does it have to do with hurting people? You see, this is where certain ideals may not see eye to eye on. Almost reminds me of all these Chinese anime. Chinese movies in the past, where they will come and meet the bad guy and said, "Now I found you. You killed my father, you killed my mother, you killed my children. Now I kill you. Prepare to die." That's it. And then the fighting begins. The kung fu begins. And then somebody in the middle of all that whole nonsense simply says, "I wish I had 10 more years. If I had 10 more years, my kung fu will really be good to take you down. I'll go back and train some more, and then I'll deal with you later. And then they'll find a way to escape. And they'll come back 10 years or so and say, my Kung Fu is now good. Now I'm going to take care of you. Just like you took care of my family. You know? Well, that's how I felt here. You know? I mean, the main character is a white knight. And I don't like white knights. You know, you can see it throughout the whole show. He's always trying to rescue damsels in distress and all that whole nonsense, and he thinks that he's God's gift to the whole kingdom, and he's not thinking about him flaunting what he already has, and that's causing problems already. You know, not only is he going to be dealing with people who are jealous of what he has, but now he has to start dealing with backbiting and also false friendship. You know, and that is the major thing that he ends up dealing with. He has all these so-called how do I put it now? I don't know what they call them, fangirls or groupies. I do not know. But he ends up getting this group of people who are just with him because he has something to offer. None of them have something to offer him. You know? None of them. And then you have people who are trying to manipulate him into doing this, into doing that. And the thing about it is that my guy, okay, the main character, who is supposed to come from our world, is supposed to carry some of his own common sense over there, cannot even see when a woman is playing tricks on him. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, man. You know? I don't know whether all these people who are writing all this nonsense have a fairy tale mindset where they think that women are how would I put it now? Women are sugar and spice and everything nice. You know? You gotta open your eyes, man. You gotta shine your eye like an agile monkey out here. You know? And he just kept on behaving like a dummy. I just didn't even understand. You know, putting himself through all this whole nonsense work. It was just, it was not worth it. You know? So, personally, I wished that he had hid a lot of his abilities, and he had only shown them when they were very critical, when it was critical. You know? Especially during the exams. He should have known how to hide his abilities. He should have known how to backscale some of his abilities not to do a lot of harm. You know, just think about it when he's thinking about how to mix this with oxygen and nitrogen and all that whole mumbo jumbo. You know, these are things you just create a simple fire. Just don't think about it and just create a simple fire. You already know fire that wouldn't burn. Red flames wouldn't burn, so visualize the red flames and fling the red flames. You know? There's some respect there. Hide yourself. Get to understand people. Get to deal with other issues in school, you know, or get to understand other political problems in that school area, and how it translates to the upper parts of the kingdom, and then eventually to neighboring kingdoms. You know, trade, all these whole things could have been discussed in this animation. I mean, you could have made this animation into a living, breathing world, and then build problems that this guy goes to solve in almost every episode, or in every 2 episodes where he goes ahead and solves them. I mean, we had an understanding that, you know, there were other mages and so on and so forth that were in the kingdom. We never got a look at them except the ones that we were already introduced to. You know? So we don't even know the inner workings of it. You know? And the thing about it is that we were told, right, that many of the magicians, in order for them to even utilize their abilities, they have to chant. I mean, how many times did I see them chant? You know, I think they forgot that aspect of the animation. It's like when you're world building, sometimes you forget what you're actually saying. You know, besides this Shane Wolford, or the main character, I mean, I didn't expect any other person to go around doing non-chant. You know? And for these individuals over the course of 2 years to be very good. I mean, for me, I felt that it should have been something that is restricted to him, but for him to enable every other person to learn how to also utilize better spells or get into different categories of using certain spells, but not to be able to use the spell as he does it. He's supposed to be a unique outlier, in my personal opinion. That's what makes him the other guy. And that anybody who is striving to get to his own level ends up being corrupted. So why is he a different case? I think that should have been the main theme of the whole animation. He should have, started putting some kind of a focus on that. But I think they never thought about that angle, and it's something that many of the times producers need to take the reins away from the mangaka and say, this is how we're going to direct the animation to make a little bit more sense, and then tie it onto another aspect of the anime. Like certain parts will be cut out, certain parts will be increased, stuff like that. Have some fluidity, license or rights or whatever on it, to make it much more better, rather than just following a set plan of pictures that have been written out by the mangaka and then you just push it out like that. Don't do that. Enough is enough. So here's the situation I ran into, and I would say this: many of the ideas regarding from the NPCs, I'll say, are ideas that the main character could have brought out. These are things that are, like, for instance, the hilt of a sword, right? That the sword is attached to the hilt, and the hilt basically pops out the sword. These are something that the main character could have come up with, and speaking on that again, you have something like the how would I put it? You call it laser sword, but I don't think it's laser sword. I call it Star Wars sword. Okay, what do you call those things again? Yeah, I think it's the lightsabers. Yeah, it's more like a lightsaber than it is a laser sword. Or should I say, yeah, it's a laser sword, it's a lightsaber. Yeah, I think they're the same thing. Yes, I think so. Basically, you have to add that in here. It's not really a laser sword. It's more like a sword that is infused with magic that behaves like a laser sword. That's what it is, And they had the nerve to put it in here, So there's just so many things that shouldn't have been put in a magic anime. They shouldn't have done that. But my greatest pet peeve with this animation is marriage. I do not know what's happening with Japan. I don't know what's happening to the young guys in Japan. But I think there is some kind of a fantasy to get married to small girls. There's some kind of a fantasy to get married to small girls from all these men who are writing on this manga, whatever. I think their licenses need to be taken away from them. When I look at animation created by women, those kinds of animations are things I can enjoy. I found out that a lot of mangakas that are women produce some of the best animations, when it comes to storytelling. It's unfortunate, but their own stories are the things I really enjoy. A lot of these men who are drawing these things or writing these things, many of them are perverts, sexual deviants. It needs to stop. Really, it needs to stop. I'm not trying to say it's a big problem, but watching this animation and many other animations like Sword Art Online and so on and so forth, they were the telling of the future. They were things that were basically, they were trying to tell you that this is where we are headed. And if you guys don't make any course correction right now, we are going to slam right in the middle of it. It's, you know, and that's where we are right now, whereby nobody has the conscience to put on the brakes. Now, I'm not sitting down here saying I have a problem with it. I'm not sitting down here saying, hey, putting sexual materials into animation is a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you have kids, you're putting all these things, all this sexual nonsense with kids. It just sends the wrong message. You're not really showing many of these men how to be men. You are not showing them the right character of being men, attractive men. Okay, men that women would want. You are not showing the men and women who are watching this animation how to be better people. No. Yet you carry all the sexual nonsense that comes with it, and you're just putting it right there in the middle and saying, you know what, I don't care about providing some kind of education to help the young masses. Okay, this is what you do because you're a man. This is what you do because you're a woman. But nobody really is showing people how to be a better man or better woman, and yet they want to start pushing things like marriage, which is supposed to be only for healthy people. You understand? I'm going to repeat that again. Marriage is only for healthy people. It's not for people who have, psychological problems or people who want to hurt other people. No, the marriage should only be for people who, even when angry, know to do the right thing. Do you understand? Personally, I would say even sex should be included as one of those things. I'm not saying sex should be exclusive to marriage, but what I'm trying to say is that it should also be part of the whole process. People who don't fall into this category shouldn't be having sex, because many of the times they do not have the brain power to understand what they are doing. Right? So, anyway, that's neither here or there. We're just going to push on. Now, throughout the show, the kingdom was saying, we don't want any kind of situation that would put the main character, put the main character in a position whereby he has to serve the kingdom. He will not be used for any kind of political bargain, right? Or political whatever. But throughout this show, we see this fool that calls himself an MC, right? Or should I say Shane Gofford? We see this fool continuously go into such zones knowingly, or should I say stupidly, even though he has the ability to think just like the rest of us in our own world. I mean, I just don't understand it. Is there something I'm missing? Is it that many of the Japanese men back at home, back here, do not have the common sense to notice a couple of these things? No, I refuse to believe that nonsense. I refuse to believe that the common Japanese man is not able to think clearly, and logically, like August in this whole animation. I refuse to believe that a Japanese man is not capable of doing that. I refuse to believe that the average man, please, don't do your people like that, man. Do not do your people like that. It's just, it was repulsive. Like I said, the main person that I really enjoyed in this animation was August. And the way August spoke was somebody who tried to give the world, the whole world in itself, the evolving landscape, some kind of a breathing, living kind of space. And I'm guessing maybe they will do that in the second episode, in the second season. Maybe this first episode was a way to just show everybody that, hey, boom, this is an animation that you would love. uh, here, watch me. And in the second season, we're gonna take our time, slow down to show you guys what the environment really is like. But we've not seen that, and it's been a while since the animation was brought out, so I'm not gonna speak on that one. I think that they could have used a lot of still images in this show if they were having problems with creating a lot of animations. They could have used still images. It's not a crime to use still images to tell us what's happening in the town, to tell us what's happening in other towns. They introduced two empires here. No one is really telling us how these people were going through, what these people were going through as they were preparing for war. What was happening? All what's happening was just, these people are amassing here at the borders. Okay, what is the response? I mean, how are the political leaders, trying to respond to the whole situation? What is really happening? None of that was given. It's just like, okay, let's send a bunch of little kids who can fly to go solve the problem and not send any elderly magician as backup. I mean, like, come on, please. I know, yeah, sure, the guru and the wise man went, but they were not even there on an official situation. And in fact, let's be frank about it, they are not supposed to be the big honchos. At least you could have sent at least 4 or 5 or 6 other magicians to help out with that kind of situation. So it still doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but anyway, that's what they wanted to go with. Like I said, there's just a plethora of problems with this animation. Animation was okay. Soundtrack I didn't really follow. The MC was just useless. A white knight that doesn't know how to, doesn't know his boundaries, and I just couldn't enjoy this animation no matter how I tried, personally. There were so many places where it could have been nice to see him overpowered, to see people for the first time just see him work without him blowing everything like a Dragon Ball Z nonsense. Someone should be able to hold his own skill, just close it off, and then with time show the larger scale of his own abilities. That way everybody's like, wow, what's going on? And I think that to some degree, with the way this MC is going, his biggest problem might end up being the August. August might end up being his enemy. It might end up being his enemy because of the amount of showing he just keeps on, producing. But anyway, let's just move forward. So the main thing here is the storyline. The story, I think, was rushed. They could have done better with it. In my personal opinion, I give it a 4.5. Okay, animation, I'll bump it up. I don't mind. I'll give it a 6.5. So overall, in my personal opinion, the whole thing, I'll just say average. If you're gonna watch this, just watch it because you have nothing else to do. If you have something to do, please do not waste your time watching it. The other animation that you could have watched. Okay, so this animation, serious waste of time, thrown away potential. If there's a season 2 that can help cover up the mess, then yeah, sure. But I don't think they're gonna do it because they messed up on this one seriously, and other people are not gonna really enjoy it. So yeah, that's it from me. Alright guys, that's good night, and hopefully you guys are all safe out there. Just keep wearing that mask, keep washing your hands, and keep doing the right thing, and eventually we'll all be winners. Alright guys, take it easy and good night. It's 5 minutes media review or less. Signing out.